Alrighty, Town. Welcome to the last episode of the Remote Learning Rundown before winter break. Scott Bramley here, and this week's episode, I am in conversation with Dr. Campbell. Hope you enjoy our conversation as we talk about self-care, remote learning, the first semester, our humanity, and everything in between. Thank you to Dr. Campbell and to everyone at ETHS for all your support. This semester, I have felt connected to many of you through our digital platform. Not to everyone, however, and that's something that I certainly strive to make more connections in the second semester and look forward to the time when we are together in person again. So thank you again. Have a wonderful winter break, and here is my conversation with Dr. Campbell. All right, E-Town, welcome to the latest edition of the Remote Learning Rundown. I am joined today with an esteemed guest from Evanston Township High School, our principal and assistant superintendent, Dr. Marcus Campbell. Marcus, hello, welcome. You want to say hi and any opening words for the audience here?
Hello, everybody, and glad you're tuning in and listening to a guy like Scott Bramley.
Thank you for that. So I thought it would be great to end the semester with a little bit of, unfortunately, we don't have a fireside to sit next to or, a great, table to sit around like you've done on stage before. But just to have a nice conversation with you to close out the semester. And obviously, everyone can see you on the eTown Live, but the audience for that is the entire community. And this really just goes out to the staff at ETHS. And so have a little more of an intimate conversation with you about our work. So thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
All right, we're going to start off with the first question. This is a big theme for everybody this year, especially during the pandemic. I know that you're an instructor for the Rebel Human, but we've been able to access those videos, which has been great. But could you talk a little bit about your experience with trying to focus on self-care and work-life balance during this time? Like, what's worked for you? How have you been able to find that, if you have, and to what degree?
Thank you, Scott, and thanks for the question. I think this is one of the most important things that any of us could do in this crisis, because if we aren't managing good self-care, we aren't acknowledging where we are, our grief, our anxiety, our wherever we are, then it's hard to show up for work, right? It's hard to show up for our family. It's hard to show up for the people in our lives that we love. So I appreciate the question, and I appreciate it's the first question. So it's been a difficult, however many months it's been since March, 8 months. It's been very difficult. There's been a lot of loss, a lot of grief, in a manner of losing so many staff members and kids, and just the loss of life as we knew it. I also buried my brother, so this is like a very important thing. So I think then what's really been working for me is to recognize where I am. One day I was walking into the building and I was just angry. I was just just angry. And I had to ask myself, what is this? Why am I angry? And I'm like, oh, this is grief. I'm like, okay, so I'm acknowledging, I'm not, because I couldn't figure out why I was angry. I couldn't figure out why I was like, somebody says something. I was just like, and I had to really think about, oh, I'm grieving. This is a part of the grief process. And that helped, just the recognition of owning the fact that, and acknowledging to myself what I was feeling in the moment was so helpful, because it didn't help me get centered, and it really helped me to navigate my day and my daily interactions and the expectations that I have of myself. And I think that sometimes many people, we experience a litany of human emotions and having very human reactions and responses, which is 100% normal. But the failure to recognize that we are having those moments is sometimes where we miss the mark a little bit. So just wherever you are, just think about it. Like, okay, where am I? It's almost like how we use the compass and the courageous conversation protocol. Locate yourself. And I think the more we're able to just to understand where we are, and then to some extent, it may not always be possible, but why we are that way, I think it can really help. So I make sure that I am sleeping, eating, drinking water, doing, doing nothing sometimes, just watching Netflix because I really like to sit back and just watch movies. That's one of them, is one of my most favorite things to do. Like you and I could talk about Police Academy for days. That's old, but you know what I'm saying. But it's just really just recognizing like, okay, I need to, to restore myself, and I need to replenish so that I have more to give. And whatever boundaries that need to be established to make that happen, both in my personal life with my kids and with everything I got going on at home with my mom. My mom is in Skokie now, so that's another thing. I have to set those boundaries because if I'm not good for myself, I'm not good for them. I'm not good for ETHS. So.
Thank you so much. I can't, I think, you have opportunities and you have to seize them. And so I wasn't going to respond too much to the things that you said today, but that really hits home. And I think it's such an important message that, everyone always talks about like, SEL and what does that mean? And what are these standards? And, I don't know how to integrate this. And that's just a perfect example of self-awareness and understanding how you can be attuned to that. And those are the things that we're talking about. Like, how do you be honest with yourself about what you're experiencing? And that's a skill. And, I won't put words in your mouth, but I know that I'm not always that good at it. I have good days and bad days. And so I think most of us do in our humanity as we're striving to be our best selves. But thank you for that. I appreciate the honesty and the depth of that response to show yourself and your humanity. It's something that I always see in you, and it's something that I really appreciate and respect in you.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. We might go a little bit deeper with that. So just fair warning, Dr. Campbell. So my next question for you is around some recent experiences. So we talk often and, in our daily work, but I know that you've had some recent experiences, whether it be the Witherbell Forum, which was fantastic. So real quick shout out to Student Senate and the advisors, Mr. Pond for sure, and everyone else who was a part of making that happen. But you had the Witherbell Forum. We decided, the Student Performance Working Group asked us to make calls to families of students who maybe failed first quarter or weren't as successful or on track to maybe pass the semester. So we made individual phone calls to students. You were a part of that. And, in your role, you've had opportunities to talk to families and students throughout the semester, and then certainly more recently. And I'm just curious if you might want to take the opportunity to just share with us what you've learned, what the impact of that has been on you, and what you would hope that people would know about your experience with that.
Yeah, I think what I learned is something that's been reinforced for me, and that is we are in a very, very tough time. This is a very, very tough time for a lot of folks. And though this pandemic combined with the racial reckoning that this country is in right now, the political anarchy and divisiveness that we're experiencing right now, the economic hardship that gets compounded by COVID and the lack of a relief package. I mean, it's just tough. I have seen a lot of email come through where parents have literally emailed me saying, I just lost my job. My kid is failing. Help me. I don't know what to do. Other conversations I've had where mom has told me that she lost her job. So she's taken a position to be a nanny to watch somebody else's kids who is doing remote, Well, her kid has an app and he's looking out for his sister. And by the way, they don't have any transportation to come to the school to even get food. And this mom was just sobbing on the phone with me. And my heart just breaks. And, when I hear things like that, I immediately make a call. And, a day later, we were delivering food to that family. And if we could have done it that day, I would have done it that day. So and then what I hear from the kids is that, at the forum and some other places is that the longer this goes on, the more of a challenge it becomes for them. And they were simply saying that they just need to know that their teachers are care for them. And it's what we always say, but I think now is so much more, it carries so much more weight and carries so much more value. One kid told a very powerful story about a math teacher, right? Who she was just giving up, like, I'm just gonna fail this class. I don't care. I'm not signing it. I'm just gonna fail. I don't want to. I'm not gonna pass. I'm not gonna show up anymore. So this person stopped logging in, stopped, coming to class. Although her video wasn't on, she was there, but said, I'm just not showing up at all. She said that this teacher is my favorite teacher because this teacher took the time to notice that I wasn't there and said, are you okay? And that gave me enough confidence and inspired me. And these aren't her exact words, to come back to the class and pass the class. So she said, just because this person made an effort to email me and say, I didn't see you, are you okay? Meant the world. And the student literally says, they noticed that I wasn't there. And it just bears to me that as much care and compassion that we can extend to kids is really important right now. The much as we can acknowledge that we see them, although some of us don't see them because their videos are off, but we see their presence, right? And we can see their humanity even when their cameras are not on. We know that they're logging into that Zoom link for a reason, right? And acknowledging that is huge. And so many other teachers have talked about the more they humanize themselves in this pandemic to talk about their own struggles, their own anxieties, their own frustrations, boom, 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 the cameras begin to come on. So I just think it's important to recognize that we're living in a tough time where all of us are experiencing so many vulnerabilities as it relates to being human beings. The more we recognize that in ourselves and the more we recognize that in students and the more we recognize that in our colleagues, I think it'll help us to get through this. So that's changed me in a lot of ways, right? I'm thinking about grades and how we do everything of what we do in a different way, especially during this crisis, because it is truly unprecedented.
Yeah, thank you, Marcus. You're raising so many good points, and one of the things that really stood out to me in your response that I want to dig a little bit deeper on in our next question here is the impact that this pandemic has had on all of us, right? And our students and our families, our staff. And there's a lot out there in the media. I mean, you can get lost in the news coverage and everything that's been said with everything that you talked about that's going on in our country. But the profession is something that's being talked about a lot. Teachers leaving, educators leaving the profession, staff not working in schools anymore. And it's a challenging time to really recenter yourself and access your why. And so, as we've learned in our Beyond Diversity training, especially those of us who have gone through Beyond Diversity 2, thinking about our PREP, right, our personal racial equity purpose, we talk about finding our why, however you want to codify that. I guess what I want to know, and maybe you might be able to share, I'm inviting you to share, reaccessing your why. Can you share with us your why, your purpose? What brings you in every day, whether it's on Zoom or in the office, to serve our community? Because we're all looking to you. You're our leader. You are a model for us, and so that's a lot of weight on you, and there's a lot of responsibility. But even amidst this, right? I know I struggle with that sometimes. Like I have to reaccess why I'm doing this. I have to reflect and sit with my thoughts, and I know you do that regularly as well. So I'm just inviting you to maybe share a little bit about that why.
Wow, Scott, that's a good question. You put me in my feeling quadrant and make me cry. Yeah. Um, I've never really seen myself as an administrator. I've always just been a teacher. I've always just seen myself just as a teacher. And I mean that in the most sense, the greatest sense of what that means. Like as a teacher, I love uh, teaching. I love kids, right? I just so happen to be in this job. So this pandemic has really helped forced me to understand, okay, why am I here? Right? If I'm really see myself as a teacher. And I think about that because, we have we've done the very best we could to support teachers who we know are supporting students on the front line. And every decision that we've made has been with the staff and the kids in mind. And I'm like, maybe that's why my heart is where it is because I don't, and why I'm here in this way to support this community in this way, because um, I see myself not as a person, as a special person. I see myself as a part of the mainstream and the main line of what education is really all about, and that's teaching and learning. It's not about all these other things. All these other things support teaching and learning, and so it's really about teaching and learning. So my why has always been about Black boys, even before I got to Evanston. um, I got into teaching because so many of my friends were either demoted, it was called demotes in CPS, and or they were dead, right? So um, Ryan's loss and Arturo's loss, so many others losses in this during this time has really, you know, I want to say it's brought me back to that because I've never left it, but it's just hit me in such a profound way that we've got to keep going, right? And we've got to keep doing what we know we're supposed to do, even when we're in a pandemic, you know? So, because one day we won't be, and we'll be getting back to um, um, the school. The good things about school as we know it, and we certainly don't want to rehearse the old things and just put them back into place because they weren't working in the first place. But that's a whole nother conversation. So I'm sorry if these answers seem kind of long, but you're asking very substantive questions. So that why about boys, Black boys, and kids in general is what is my why, and thinking about their strengths and thinking about how to support them and thinking about how to support teachers who are supporting them is really why I'm here every day. And I want to do a good job, and I know I have a responsibility, right? And I have worked really hard to make sure that I am genuine, that I am honest and transparent, um, and sometimes genuinely sorry if there's if we've missed a mark somewhere. So um, I hope I answered your question. Like my why has always been about kids, has always been about kids of color, and since being at ETHS, even supporting white kids, because I've had that experience on the South Side growing up. Uh, but yeah, we have to maintain committed to our purpose even during the pandemic. And as this crisis has arisen, maintaining what that looks like, even in this context, is important. And as we exit this context, it's still important. So I think about that every single day, every day.
Thank you so much, Marcus. I want to program note out there, just so everyone knows. I did not give Marcus these questions in advance, so
Oh, you did
I
not.
I'm
That's what
hitting up.
I'm kind of thinking and I'm talking because I hope they aren't too long because I'm like, I have to really think about this.
No,
But
it's perfect. I mean, those are challenging questions to answer on the fly, and I really appreciate it, and certainly recognize the depth of your thoughtfulness on those responses. So
yeah, somebody sent me a quote. Had just gotten the Golden Apple Scholarship in like 96, 97 when I was graduating from high school. Did I send this to you? Where someone said, I quote in the thing that I was going to be a teacher to help Black boys.
yeah,
And
yep,
I find myself in this job in this way with this. It's almost like I know that I'm doing what, as far as what I think I'm supposed to be doing, I know that I'm doing that right now. And I didn't make decisions. It's not like every decision that I've made to get because I didn't make these. It just happened to be that way. So I just believe I'm being guided by a greater purpose. And I just hope and continue to pray that, and I'm a person of faith, that God's grace will continue to lead me and guide me in all that I do.
yeah.
So that's me.
Yeah, as you were saying that, I was thinking you have sent that to me before. We've talked about that before, and I remember going to a workshop with you several years ago through Northwestern Kellogg School of Management, and Dr. Pierce spoke, right? Dr. Nicholas Pierce, and his book, The Purpose Path. I picked that up right after that, and being able to read that and reconnect with it, and I think it's one of those texts that kind of prompts you to really think through these things. Even if you don't identify yourself as a person of faith
That's
or
right.
organized religion or faith in
Sure.
some way, it's
Sure.
just about your humanity and recognizing your impact in the world. And not he didn't give me anything to plug that, but it just, as you were speaking, I was like, it just resonates so much with me that um, I don't know that there's been a time in my life. I've been challenged by a lot of things in my life, as we've talked about over the years. Several similar experiences with loss of life and situations in my neighborhood and in my experience. And I don't think I've ever been challenged like I have been during this, right? To continue to find my purpose and continue to reconnect with my why. So I really appreciate. I know the audience will appreciate hearing that from you directly, because um, people continuously say they just miss the interactions we've been able to have over the years with each other, even if it's that simple hallway kind of interaction. You spark up a quick conversation, and we
The
just haven't
things
been
we
able to
take
do
for
that.
granted. I didn't even know that I would. I miss people. I knew I would miss people, but I didn't know that it would be like this. I saw some people come in from here and there, and I'm like, I immediately want to run and hug them and like talk to them and like, oh, how are you? It's just, it's in my nature. I'm a hugger by nature, but it's like,
Right.
oh, I just want to connect. So yeah, I saw some kids on the street once. I just gotten some Starbucks or something. It was a Monday, and I'm like, I know that kid. That kid's an ETHS student, but I didn't want to like harass them as they were having lunch. So I recognized one by name, and as I was getting in my car, I just said, "Hey, such and such," and the person turned around and said, "Oh my God!" And then they all waved, and then I went back over there just to say hi.
Yeah.
That's it's just we just miss each other and definitely miss the kids.
Yeah, we'll get there again soon.
We
For
will.
sure.
We will.
So just to wrap up, Marcus, thank you for taking the time. I got one last question for you. Really open-ended. You can take this anywhere, but we have this opportunity. You're speaking directly to the staff. Is there anything, closing thoughts? Final. I feel like Jerry right now, but what are your final thoughts? Anything you want to share with the staff, with the community, about e-learning, or anything, just kind of advice or tips or anything as we leave, as we're finalizing first semester, getting ready to head into our winter break, and an opportunity for us to rejuvenate and recharge.
I guess I want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you who have just made so many sacrifices and have been there for the kids and have persevered and showed so much resilience and so much strength and so much courage. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. It has meant the world to this community, this entire community. I've heard so many great things that teachers are doing. So many stories as to how people have gone above and beyond. So I just want to say thanks. And I would also like to say I miss you too. Those laughs and those hugs and those fist bumps in the hall. And to all of the new staff, I keep thinking about like, oh my gosh, our new staff hasn't experienced what ETHS really is yet. And I think about that all the time, like, oh, I can't wait for them to get into the building to see our fine arts and the athletics and the this and all everything we have going on. And I'm thinking about that all the time. So I just want to say, we'll get back, we'll have some sense of normalcy soon. When we do get back, we'll do it safely. And give yourself some time over the winter break to really decompress and to take care of yourselves. And I hope to see you all soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marcus. Appreciate your time. Again, I know people will really appreciate hearing from you. And I really do respect and appreciate your willingness to take this on, to take the interview blindly without any context or any information from me. So, that allows us to be, most authentic in the moment. And I really do feel that connection to you in this moment. So thank you.
And thank you, Scott, for all of what you've done. You've been a lifesaver. So thank you. You've come through. So thanks.
Appreciate that.
I mean that.
You don't say anything you don't mean. You know what I feel like right now? I'm not even going to say it. Hold on to call. I'm going to just stop the recording.